All right, guys, welcome back to another Master Apprentice video and podcast. Now, we're a little bit late, but we are going to be reviewing the newest Tales of the Empire, pretty much Tales of the Jedi Season 2. This came out on May 4th. All episodes premiered at once. 6 episodes, about 12 to 10 minutes for each episode. It's a really fun series. Tales of the Jedi was a huge hit when it first aired in 2023. So this had high expectations, is the least to say. With all of that, we're going to kind of review this and break this down in two parts. The first 3 episodes and then the last 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes being about Morgan Elsbeth, the last 3 episodes being about Barriss Offee. And we're kind of break them down and review them. So if you don't want any spoilers, just go ahead to the end. We'll get to the reviewing at the end of the video. All right, so with that being said, episode 1 was an amazing episode. I gotta say, I loved it. It brought a lot of cool aspects of Star Wars that are kind of unexplored. General Grievous, right? General Grievous was an absolute menace in episode 1. He was easily described as being horrifying and haunting in episode 1. And that's kind of what General Grievous was designed to be when he was first brought in Revenge of the Sith. In Clone Wars, I feel like he kind of loses a little bit of that scary edge, and this did a really good job of bringing him back to that. Not to mention, we got a lot of cool insight and just different looks of the Night Sisters and the Dathomir witches, right? Because we got the Night Sisters, but as we saw, they were kind of wiped out. And then we got like the Day Sisters, is what some people are calling them, right? These sisters, these witches that were in the mountains, but they kind of resorted to peace as much as they could. And it was cool to see that different aspect of the Dathomir witches, something that's not really explored, right? The magic part of Star Wars is still a relatively unexplored part of Star Wars. So it was cool to see, one of the Day Witches show up out of nowhere using like a Doctor Strange-esque portal and then just completely desolate a bunch of droids. It was really fun, and I really liked episode 1. I think it's probably one of the better episodes of the series. Episode 2, I think, was amazing. I loved the whole kind of introduction of bringing Morgan Elsbeth into the Empire. We saw a little bit of her background story in episode 1, and now we kind of see her development into how she got involved with Thrawn when we see her years later in Ahsoka. And it was really cool to see Captain Pellaeon, right? Captain Pellaeon is a developed character in the EU Legends Thrawn series, the original Thrawn series. And he's been brought to canon through other novels, but he's never really been developed more than that. So it was cool to see him kind of brought to more light in this show. I really enjoyed that. And then just Thrawn, I mean, the guy's an absolute menace anytime he's on the screen. I love that character. And it was cool to see how that relationship was formed and kind of why Thrawn trusted her in the Ahsoka series, right? Because we see her in Mandalorian season 2, but then we don't really see Morgan Elsbeth again for a while until Ahsoka. And then all of a sudden she has this strong relationship with Thrawn, and it stems from what we see in Tales of the Empire. So I think episode 2 is pretty great. Episode 3 is probably the weakest of the first 3 episodes. I still think it's a really fun episode. It kind of dives into how she became the magistrate and how she kind of got this death grip over this town that we see in Mandalorian season 2. And then we also kind of get the behind the scenes of how Ahsoka found this planet and why and how she started battling Morgan Elsbeth that we see in Mandalorian season 2. But besides that, not much else was really brought to light. It was still a very fun episode. It was cool to see the New Republic brought in a way, because technically it's Tales of the Empire, so the New Republic's around, the Empire's not. But it was cool how they did it. I liked it, but again, probably the weakest. With all that being said, I'd probably give episode 1 a 8 out of 10, episode 2 a 9 out of 10, and episode 3 a 6 out of 10. All very fun episodes. I think the first half of the Tales of the Empire is probably the better half of Tales of the Empire. Then we go to episode 4, the first episode around Barriss Offee. And I think this is probably the best Barriss Offee episode there is. I really enjoyed this. We got to see Barriss Offee in a dark space in prison in the Republic. And then she looks out the window and she sees the Jedi Palace on fire. And, from context, we know exactly where and when in time this is during Order 66. And then we shortly see after the fourth sister and the Inquisitors in general give her this opportunity to, repay the debts that she had in the Republic to the Empire as an Inquisitor. And it was cool to see that whole new aspect. It was cool to see the Grand Inquisitor. I think the Grand Inquisitor was amazing in this episode. I think he was one of the shining moments and characters for the series. I really enjoyed episode 4. It was really cool to see the introduction of an Inquisitor, because we've never really seen that process of an Inquisitor brought into the Inquisitor program. So it was cool to see that different side of it. Episode 5 started out pretty good, I think, all things being considered. It was cool to see, Inquisitors go on a mission that wasn't, based on some very important plots and details. It's just kind of like a normal day in the office, so to say, right? And that was up until the end of it, when they're hunting a Jedi on the mountain, and then Barriss Offee just kind of switches up and betrays the Inquisitors, but she still switches up and joins back to the light side, which we'll kind of get into the last episode a little bit. But I think it was just a random switch up. This whole series is about the Tales of the Empire, and while not every scene needed to be dark and scary, that was kind of the whole premise of this show. With all that being said, episode 6 was probably the weakest episode of the series. It had Barriss Offee years later now, as what they call the healer, where she helps Force-sensitive children and former Jedi, kind of helps heal them and help them find their way in the galaxy to be undetected by the Empire. Meanwhile, being on a hidden planet that looks, kind of like Hoth in a way, an icy planet, a barren planet. And then we see the fourth sister. She's tracking down this Force-sensitive child that's brought to Barriss Offee, and they fight for a little bit. And then Barriss Offee says, go ahead, chase after them. They're in these caves. You're going to get lost. And then fourth sister goes. She gets lost. And then eventually Barriss Offee is like, I'll help you get out. You know you don't want to be a bad guy, so follow me. And fourth sister's like, what? Turns around and stabs her, right? So it's just a kind of a sudden change of pace, a sudden death, and that's kind of where the episode ends. Again, I think this is one of the weaker episodes. I think it's the slowest paced. These are short episodes, right? 10 minutes, 12 minutes at the max, and you give us an episode that's half of it's about just stuck in a maze, right? It's just not that interesting. And not to mention just a switch up of these characters and their allegiance to these different factions. I get, sometimes you can't give all the context, but I feel like a lot of context was missing. A lot of development for these characters was missing. And I feel like it really suffered in these last 2 episodes because of that. I think the departure from Barriss Offee's character was done poorly. We see her willing to betray the Jedi, bomb the Jedi Temple, kill lots of innocent people, and now all of a sudden she's fond of the Jedi again and the Jedi's tactics, and she's still a Jedi. It just seems like a random change up that they didn't explain very well. At least in my perspective, that's how I felt about it. So with that being said, I'd give episode 1 an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. Episode 5 a 6 out of 10. I really enjoyed it, but the last half just had me questioning things for sure. And then episode 6, I'd probably give a 4, a 4 out of 10. I think it really struggled in the midst of all of these great episodes. I think episode 6 really struggled, and because it was the finale, it just kind of left a bad taste in the mouth. But if you look at all of these separately, these are all pretty strong in their own ways. And another, some other things was like Darth Vader was showed multiple times in the trailer. He wasn't really shown in this episode. He kind of had his entrance onto a throne, and that was it at the end of episode 4. So I think that's a little bit of a clickbaity thing by Disney, which I don't really appreciate. So with all that being said, after giving all those episodes their separate reviews and ratings, I honestly thought this had more potential to be better than Tales of the Jedi. I really did. I loved the character selection. I was very interested in Barriss Offee, the character we've had lots of questions about for a while now, especially with the trailer, her and Darth Vader. I was very excited to see how that relationship would work out. And Morgan Elsbeth, I wasn't necessarily the most excited about, but she has a really cool backstory with Thrawn and General Grievous, some very interesting characters, and I was very interested to see how that would be brought to light. So I really did enjoy the Morgan Elsbeth part of it. Like I said, the Barriss Offee, I feel like kind of died off at the end and left a sour taste in the mouth. But with all of that being said, I think I'm going to give this season, Tales of the Empire, a 7 out of 10. Tales of the Jedi, I give an 8 out of 10, I believe. Tales of the Jedi, I enjoyed a little bit more. But Tales of the Empire is still a good series. 7 or 6 out of 10 is probably what I recommend. But if I look at each episode independently, 7 out of 10 seems like a fair rating. I recommend watching it. I mean, it's a quick watch. You can watch all of these in like an hour or an hour and a half at the most. It's a quick watch, and it's still fun. There's some really cool things about it. Like I said, Thrawn, General Grievous, the Inquisitor parts, I think were really fun. So let me know what you guys thought of it down in the comments. If you guys enjoyed it, if you guys didn't like it, disliked it, whatever it be. Let us know what you guys think of all the ratings and reviews that we gave it. If you guys disagree with our opinions or not. With that, we hope you guys did enjoy this video. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. If you guys are listening on podcast, we deeply appreciate it. Don't forget to hit that follow and download. And with that, we will see you guys in the next episode. See ya.